How's it going, guys? It's Wexom Investing here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about 2025 one last time. It's 2026 now, and you know what? I'm going to give you guys a recap of last year. Last year, I found hundreds of great investments that I made some money on, but I also lost money on some investments. And I figured I'm going to show you guys some of my good investments and some of my bad investments. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into it. First up, one of my best investments of last year was the Stockholm Challengers capsule. I scooped these up at 1.6 euros each from third-party websites on July 23rd, and I've held on to these ever since. The next day, I actually posted a video here on this channel explaining why I thought these were a great buy, and I also sent out a message in my Discord. I ran the numbers, I checked the trends, and everything pointed towards a solid entry. If you want the full breakdown, go check that video. I promise it's worth it. Now, fast forward to today, these capsules are currently at around 3.5 euros on Steam or 2.58 euros on third-party sites, giving me a return of about 100% in 6 months. And that's not bad at all for a long-term hold. And I plan to keep buying these over 2026 and 2027 as well. People still reach out to me to this day through the Discords telling me thank you for giving them that call, because it's still one of the lowest points the capsule has been at. Now, on the flip side, one of my worst investments was the train collection, which I initially bought for fillers. Publicly, I even said that these could perform really well, and for a while they really did. But then Valve hit us with an update changing how trade-ups worked, and they completely crashed. Obviously, I couldn't predict Valve's update, it just didn't make sense at the time, but yeah, this one was a fat L. Definitely a painful lesson, but it's part of investing. Hey, before we continue, I have to tell you about my own website, Wexom Investing, where you can track all cases and check today's market. You can also see my investments and see my videos. And lastly, it's the place to join the biggest CS2 investing community out there. In the Discord, you can make friends, talk to people about investments, and ask any question you have about your own investment. After that, a great investor will give you a detailed breakdown in return of any question you have. In the Discord, we also offer buff balances, we offer giveaways, we offer graph analytics on all collection and cases, and we also have a bot tracking Chinese inventories, giving us early indication if an item is about to be manipulated. And we also have mass notification alert if any big update is coming into the game files, and I am honestly so happy to see what it has become during 2026. And I am positive that we will continue to grow this family. If you like CS2 investing, head on over to Wexom Investing. Let's get into the video. Now to one of my great investments as well, the Phoenix case. I've mentioned this case a lot in previous videos, and I still haven't sold them because I still think they're extremely undervalued. They have great play skins, all of the OG knives, and they're still cheaper than some of these bigger cases. If you head on over to my website, Wexom Investing, we can see that there's only a few million of them left in the world. I grabbed 250 cases each at 3 euros on Steam, and now they're about 5 euros, giving me roughly a 60% return in just a few months. I won't be selling these for years, but it's definitely an entry point that I'm very proud of. Now, moving on to another bad investment of mine. One of my weaker spots in my portfolio this year was the Kawaii eyes sticker from the Character Craft collection. Application looked amazing. The supply was very limited, and I talked about them in the channel in mid-November after checking all of the fundamentals with friends. Everything pointed honestly towards a very solid investment, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. 3 months later and the demand has just been falling. They literally haven't moved. I did sell 30% of my supply recently because demand just kept dropping. So I took a small loss on fees, and lesson learned. Fundamentals, they are very important, but they aren't just a guarantee. Another strong performer in my portfolio was the See You Later. I bought 10 field-tested See You Laters at around 85 euros each, and the same minute I announced in the Discord that they looked very promising. Now they're going for about 122 euros on Steam or 105 on third-party sites, giving me roughly a 30% return in less than 2 months, depending on where you sell. And that's a very nice quick gain. Compare this to the stock market, where I work on a daily basis. where we tried to chase 1% or 2%, and in the rough estimate, we tried to get 10% over a year. Getting a 30% return in just under 2 months is absolutely crazy. Now, moving on to another investment of mine that hasn't really moved too much, it's my Kato skins. Now, my Katowice were a personal favorite, but they just haven't been a great investment this year. I traded a lot of my collection for my dream AK with a Titan sticker. And while it was a dream trade for me, it wasn't great ROI. I never publicly suggested Katos were a strong 2025 investment because honestly, I just saw that they weren't performing very well, and I knew that they aren't very liquid. But I still believe in Kato stickers long term, but I did do a loss on this trade. Now back to the wins. The Coiled Strike sticker. Back in spring last year, I picked up 25 of them for only $1, knowing these wouldn't stay much lower. Fast forward to today and they're almost €5 on Steam, giving me roughly 400% return in under a year. That's not too bad in my opinion. Lastly, one of my most disappointing investments was the Wexxim Solitude. I bought 100 field tested versions at €2 and now they're down to €1.22 on Steam. A tough loss, but again, that's part of the game. The only reason I bought field tested back then and not factory new was because I got a deal through a trade. Obviously, I would have invested in factory new anyhow, but I did lose money massively on the Wexxim Solitude. So overall, most of my CS2 investments do make money, but there's always a few duds over a full year. I've mentioned all the losses from 2025, but I have hundreds of more investments that performed well that I haven't talked about. And that's the beauty of being a consistent investor and running one of the biggest CS2 investing discords out there. You always have options and options and options. If you enjoyed this small little breakdown, just a recap of last year, drop a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which of your hits or misses surprised you the most.